Giorgio Cafiero, who's probably not too far away, Giorgio, you're also in Washington, the CEO of Gulf State Analytics. Giorgio, is it important whether Donald Trump has imposed this plan on Benjamin Netanyahu, or is it just the fact that it's going to be signed, the most important thing?
Yeah, well, I think it's really clear that the United States is the only power in the world that really had the ability to use its leverage over Israel to bring it to agreeing to at least phase one. And of course, as we know, Donald Trump and Netanyahu have their own relationship, certainly an interesting relationship, but nonetheless, Netanyahu needs to have Trump's support in general. So when Trump really imposes certain terms on Netanyahu, that has a very special effect, though I would say that probably has always been the case with any American president, just by virtue of how much Israel needs the United States. But at the same time, I would just repeat, Netanyahu has his own interests in always staying on Trump's good side. So I do think that some of the personality aspects of Trump's leadership are important in this picture here.
Has Donald Trump effectively achieved diplomatically what Benjamin Netanyahu wanted to do militarily? In other words, get rid of Hamas and to make sure that it didn't present a future danger to the state of Israel?
Well, that's a really good question. This peace plan, as so many other analysts on TRT have pointed out, it's very vague. Many of the details have yet to be worked out. And one of the questions that remains open is what is going to be the role of Hamas when it comes to Gaza's post-conflict governance. Is Hamas going to have some sort of influence? If so, how much? What kind of form does that influence take? But to a grander point, though, I think that if Israel is going to restart this war, or if Israel is going to continue having an occupation presence on the ground in certain parts of Gaza, there will certainly be armed resistance to that Israeli occupation. This is also to say nothing about the situation in the West Bank, where the occupation has intensified and become increasingly harsh in recent months. And within this context, there will always be some sort of an armed Palestinian resistance, whether that's in the name of Hamas or some other group remains to be seen. But no, I don't think that Netanyahu's goal of eradicating armed resistance, whether it's in the form of Hamas or some other organization, was achieved as a consequence of the past 2 years of this genocidal war.
Yeah, that bigger picture could absolutely be critical, Giorgio, because if the two-state solution doesn't advance, then presumably after decades and decades of this armed struggle, there will be other groups that will appear and will want to push through an armed struggle their own self-determination, that of the Palestinians. And therefore, you mentioned the occupied West Bank. This is a bigger picture that needs to be addressed. And presumably there'll be some detail coming out of it, because otherwise, why would Hamas agree? This is not a fight just for Gaza. It's about Palestine, of course.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And to be sure, the news today is one that is positive. If, we're at this point now where we can expect the Israeli bombing to at least pause for a period of time, for Israelis who are held captive in Gaza to be reunited with their loved ones, and for Palestinians behind bars and Israeli prisons and jails to be reunited with their loved ones, and especially for this humanitarian aid to come into Gaza. All of this is very welcome news. But what will matter, though, is after phase one, what do the following phases look like? And these grander issues about the occupation, the rights of the Palestinian people, whether or not the Palestinians will have freedom. These are really, long-term, the key issues. Certainly, we can't say that phase one of this ceasefire deal addresses them. But if there is to be real, genuine, lasting peace between the Israelis and Palestinians, something far beyond just what might be a temporary ceasefire, but genuine peace that's sustainable, those issues are going to have to be addressed. For sure, Trump's 20-point initiative does not do that.
And certainly Benjamin Netanyahu has made it his lifetime ambition, he admits it himself, never to allow a state of Palestine to exist. So it seems as if we're going to come to some kind of impassable moment whenever that happens in the future. And the future is important, despite the fact that you and I are discussing this very good news and this relief after 2 years and 3 days of Gazan civilians being killed by an Israeli war machine.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. There's many reasons to celebrate right now, and I think it needs to be stated that there were countries in the region, especially Qatar, Turkey, and Egypt, that did a lot of heavy lifting to bring us to this point. But we should keep our optimism cautious because we don't know what's going to happen after phase one. There are many, many complicated issues that have to be worked through as we move from phase one to phase two. And then, of course, these longer grand term issues, I'm not very optimistic about progress on those, especially given the nature of the Israeli leadership, the realities of Israeli society. But we do have to consider these longer term issues if we are to be serious about real lasting peace between the Palestinians and the Israelis. I completely agree with you.
Giorgio, thank you so much for your time. Giorgio Cafiero speaking to us from Washington.